Welcome to Mystical Messages. I am Hilary Harley, your podcast host. I am a soul guide and astrologer. Mystical Messages is your podcast gateway to discover and learn about the realm beyond the veil, including all things intuitive, metaphysical, and the healing arts. To learn more about my work or to book a session with me, please visit hilaryharley.com. If you would like to read my monthly forecast, you may find the full written transcript for all astrology episodes on my website. That way, if you hear something and want to re-listen to a forecast or to check a date of a cosmic event, you may find it on the written monthly forecast on hilaryharley.com. Today, I am so very delighted to have my special guest, Constance Messmer, join me to learn more about her work as a psychic development coach. Welcome, Constance.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, Hilary.
Yay, this has been just something I have really, really looked forward to. Our conversation and learning, I've known you for a while and I certainly know your website and how you describe yourself, but I really want to talk about your journey because a great deal of the purpose of my show is to bring into the mainstream those healing practitioners who have been on the journey and the path and to share their stories about what brought them to the path and how they use their modalities to help our growing population in the spiritual realm. So before I get too far into our conversation, I just want to say your contact information is www.constance, CONSTANCE, Messmer, MESSMER.com.
Correct.
Okay, so yay,
I love this. I love this, especially because you have an inside peek on me because I've been using you or going to you as my astrologer for quite some time. And astrology, as we know and love, is so beneficial as one of our things in our spiritual portfolio for soul recognition of who we are and what we've come to do in this lifetime and any hiccups along the way. So I honor your work and your assistance in every and any time I might have a doubt as to what I'm up to. Reads from you each year just remind me like, no, this is it. This is who you are. This is what you've come to do. You're on the right path. Keep at it. And so I just want to honor and thank you for your participation in my soul's journey.
Thank you. I very deeply appreciated, and it's a true honor and joy to work with you. And I have to say, I have not interviewed on my podcast very many clients. I mean, I can only think offhand of one or two in the 3 or 4 years that I've been doing this. So your work is vital and really of the moment and very needed. So describe. Yes, for sure. So describe, share with our listeners what you're about, what you offer.
Okay, great. So I've been at the work of spirit, which is all over my astrology, that I must teach and do spirit work for a very long time in my life. When I was young, I didn't have the words to explain what was happening, but I have always had one foot in both worlds and seen spirit and talked to higher realms of spirit, angels, God, consciousness, and seeing things around people. And I thought everyone could. And it wasn't until my 20s that I got my first astrology read, and it started making a little more sense. And then one thing led to another, and it was in probably, that Saturn return in your late 20s.
Oh, yeah.
Where I was like, Oh my God, I can no longer be I studied journalism in college, which was perfect.
So did
But
I.
you did brilliant. I love it. And I realize now that it helps me in my work, the psychic work, because it helps me. The rule one is consider the source. And
Mhm.
you always figure out the way to get the answer, right? You always, there's got to be a way around. Maybe I can ask the question differently or, go to a different being or person for the information that I need. So it prepared me in a wonderful way for what I actually do. So it was in my late 20s that I decided, okay, listen, I do this. I'm a psychic, pure and simple, which was hard to reconcile with my Catholic upbringing.
Mhm.
But it began my journey of Reiki studies and energy work and getting messages for people, clients that were on my table, and then finally just saying, listen, I can see your soul. I can see past, present, future. I'm going to tell you what I get. You tell me if it matters to you or makes a difference or makes sense. And it
Mhm.
was quite profound for the people so that were coming to me and on my table and having lasting and long healing. And from going to just doing reads to doing healing work, then I realized I've got to teach this. I sat with my own guidance and it was time to teach. So that's where the fun kicked in, was really empowering everybody to recognize, my tagline is we are body and soul. And if you only live through your physical senses, you're missing half your life. And
Mhm.
so I really know that my work is to remind people how they can use their soul senses, which are the clairs and all the psychic senses and their empathic senses. And I'm just like um, such an immense researcher to the work, and particular to the work in the language that I offer contemporary perspective to really bring it mainstream so that everyone can be empowered, so that they can, be their own guru, really.
Mhm.
I think it's the next step in human evolution, not just being able to source the answers for ourselves, but also telepathic communication, which is what I call inner psychic rapport, this ability to communicate with other for your own self, or, for more knowledge to help people around you. So my work is, I did it privately and had people coming to me for various reasons, whether they wanted me to talk to their non-vocal autistic child or person in their family, or their animal communication or mediumship, or, why can't I get rid of this pain, and looking at past lives. And so I have this wealth of kind of case studies that I did
Mhm.
over a span of 30 years.
Yep. I hear you.
Yeah. So I've been at this for a while. And so, even in my childhood, I was having experiences that I was very contemplative with. Um, and so now it's really exciting to have a YouTube channel where I'm teaching, and I give away so much content, Hilary. I give away so many lessons. And so it's going well. I'm really excited.
That's amazing. So your YouTube channel can be found on your website, via your website?
Correct.
Okay.
It's my name, Constance Messmer. And so I have the YouTube channel. I have a newsletter that comes out once a month. I'm on social media, and all these platforms allow people to learn. Really, truly, I'm reminding them about their own soul and their own soul's journey of human evolution, higher conscious awareness, and the ability to use all our soul senses to navigate our life and our world personally and professionally. So it's been fun to go. I miss in some ways the private practice, but not really, because, the joke is if I did a local talk at the library, if I did a talk in my office, I could house like 20 people comfortably. If I did a
Mhm.
talk at the library, maybe 50, but hitting YouTube, I've got
Oh,
like 30,000 followers plus. So there's a lot more people that I can, talk to. So it's fun. It's
right.
what I know I'm supposed to do.
Well,
And with the chart reads from you, it's in the houses that it's supposed to go on a global scale. So good
yes.
confirmation.
Yes. And I just want to, knowing you, it's been a pleasure and an honor to really see you blossom. But I also hear a lot of modesty. I mean, this is a really big deal because you've really exploded in the last few years.
Correct.
And as a way into that, I just want to talk about um, when you were first budding, did you feel like Reiki was the gateway into this, or
It,
was
it was for me because I knew in talking to God, my big conversations, I jump guides a lot of times unless there's a specific class I'm teaching and I want to work with a specific guide onto what that class looks like. Otherwise, I jump straight to divine consciousness. And it was this sense of like, okay, I know I can do this stuff. I know I see things around people. I know I see their loved ones. What do you want me to do? And it was really, you've got to commit your life to this work. And so I said to that voice, okay, bring it on. Keep me clear. Keep my ego out of it. I will the will thy will. And it became the manifested magic of Breadcrumb Trail. And it was Reiki came up first. So I studied it. And when I put my hands on people or even got in their energy field, I was able to learn about energy field in a more controlled setting and with greater understanding to learn about auras and chakras, which made so much more sense then all of a sudden. And I was able to then communicate those experiences with people to say, oh, of course, your relationship is out of sync because your sacral chakra is a little out and you've got this past life tie with this other person over here, and just things like this. So it was when I put my hands on people to do energy work with Reiki that I started realizing I've got to tell them the psychic information that's coming to me because it's not enough to just do the energy balancing. And I told Spirit, listen, they're not going to understand energy because this was way back in, the late, I think it was 1997, and it was just coming across America or had been already. I don't want to. Yeah,
well, it was just coming into consciousness, like much more mainstream.
Yeah.
I mean,
And so I thought I needed something more tangible. So I studied a remedial therapy called Bowen, Bowen technique out of Australia. So I studied that, but it still was like, no, you've got to tell them what you're getting psychically. So finally, with Spirit's promptings, I finally said, okay, listen, can I talk to you about your mother that's also in the room with you right now in spirit that I keep seeing and who really wants to tell you a few things, And so what the work then became, because you're right, Reiki was kind of the gateway. And then when I succumbed to more of what I needed to pass along, because I felt guilty not. So I just said, keep me clear, keep my ego out of it. The messages came through and I began to talk to people and they'd say, well, what do you do? And I said, well, I do mediumship but I'm not a psychotherapist or anything, but it is kind of psychic psychotherapy because when I converse with your mediumship, with your loved ones, it's not so much evidential mediumship. Sure, they're going to tell me that you're going to be given a job offer tomorrow. You should take it. And don't even ask me, they don't have time constraints, but whatever. They don't. I've learned so much. I'm like, trust me, they're like, I'm not looking for a job. I said, I don't care. Your dad is telling me you're going to get a job offer tomorrow. Take it. And then I'd see them later in the grocery store, like a few months later, and they'd say, oh my God, I took the job. You were right. I said, no, your dad was right. And they said, and it was amazing. I took the job, even though I didn't need a job, but thank God I took the job because my husband got injured, laid off work, and needed my insurance because now I had a job with insurance, just all of these things. So it became this awareness that when I did mediumship, it was not just evidential. It was more therapy to what needed to be resolved in the relationship and, just family dynamic stuff. So I'm going to be honest with you, that was burdensome for me because I wanted to get it right. I had no qualms calling people back up and saying, I think I heard them a little wrong. Let me correct that information. For me, I had to be embarrassed twice. And after that, I would never get it wrong again. I was like, what are you saying? How am I getting this? So I think because I am, Virgo in my chart, perfectionist, Virgo moon, like, I was, it was a benefit. It made me be a perfectionist in the work and multitasking is a forte of mine. So I could be here and in spirit and deliver the message. So it then just kind of rocket shipped off to teaching and following Spirit's promptings to start a podcast and do YouTube channel and so that more people could find and learn and listen. And so me, I'm just the messenger. You know how it is. I'm just channel. I just channel. So it's easy to be humble because I know it's a part of me and a part of all of us, but I don't work alone.
1,000%.
Mhm.
Yeah, it is really the service generation,
Mm.
and it's a purity that really is a measuring stick that I
Yes.
find, and you can feel this is like I'm not quite getting it.
Yes. No, true. True. And as we all know, anybody in the work knows that when you're, kind of streaming this information through you, and if you get that hiccup or the disconnect because you've gone on tangent or embellished or got off track, you've got to go back to source and say, could you say that again or tell me over again? Can you help me repeat it in a way that they can understand it? I mean, I have all these skills that I use when I deliver information that then it's this I've got so much content in my brain
Hmm.
because of my own experiences and what I'm capable of,
Right.
and because I'm a perfectionist to get it right, that I am also breaking into the writing world to write books on the material, which is
Right.
exciting. I think you saw it in my chart there too.
Yes, it's very exciting. So, talk to me, please, about your audience, who you're targeting, what your sweet spot is. Is there, a certain age bracket? Is it anybody who is discovering that they're on the path, or are they certain distance, journey, benchmark on the path?
That's a great question. And I'll tell you why. Because my desire is to reach everyone and anyone, because I think I believe it's part of our human evolutionary journey. And for me, the tricky part is I'm kind of hanging on for the ride because my work is beneficial for beginners and seasoned people alike. And
Okay.
that's hard to, put that balance together when I'm writing material or teaching, but I do it anyway. A lot of time in my teaching, I'll say, this is what's happening and this is how I'm getting it.
Hmm.
I'll tell people how I deliver the information, but really I'm working to span beginners to advanced students. I just am. I am. I am.
Okay. And when people tune in to your YouTube channel, is it just they're leaping into it's not, say, necessarily a course, it is conversation? Can you talk to me a little bit about that?
Well, what it is it actually is a course. It's a master course. I label it as a master course, and there's almost 130 videos. It is sequential. It's definitely sequential. I have people that binge watch because a lot of the times when they jump in part way, they throw in questions that we then try to direct them to previous videos that it's already been answered in. So it is
Okay.
a series of lessons, and it begins with how I get the information and how we can get our information, whether it's our wise self or from spirit, or if we're trying to understand someone else, maybe getting information off of them. Are we getting it psychically, empathically? How's the information coming to us? And then I get into all the ways we receive information, the clairs, the empathic clairs, really fine tuning the definition of each so that we can all be on the same page with contemporary language. And then also the next series then gets into I use a chakra system based on 12 chakras, and the importance of the chakra system when you're living as an empath, but also if you decide to one day do reads on people, it's a great access point to get information. But also too, this journey is first and foremost about our soul and ourself, and the chakra system are great repositories of soul information. And so it felt important to me to teach about them. That's the book that I've just finished writing and I want to get out. But then after those people have moved through those videos and lessons, then the next set of lessons are going to be, let's take these, areas of information. Let's take all this content that you've learned so far, and how do you apply it whether it's in inner psychic rapport or telepathic communication with a loved one on the other side, telepathic communication with someone that you're living with, or even troubleshooting in business. So it is a buildup. People jump in at different points based on their awareness, and they go back over the old content or are excited about the stuff that's upcoming. But if I weren't me, I'd jump in from the beginning.
Okay, that's helpful.
I would, because it's a lot to ask of people.
Well, it makes sense.
It does. And I think they could put it on speed up the audio, because in the beginning there were a lot of long 1-hour lessons, but I wanted to cover a lot of information. There's such a huge wealth of information that we could talk about if you and I just said, let's talk about clairvoyance today.
Well, and it's interesting you just touched on that, because for anybody listening that may not understand, the clairs we're talking about are the higher octave, meaning the next range. So we have the earthly senses: smell, sight, touch, hearing, and so forth, taste. And the clairs are the clairsentient, meaning clear feeling, clear cognizant, clear knowing, clairvoyance, which most people are familiar with, clear audio, which is clear hearing. And as you develop your psychic awareness, and Constance can certainly speak to this more articulately than I, those become much more refined.
It's definitely heightened. And I know that I know this in my heart, because we are body and soul, and these are the senses of the soul that you just spoke to. And when people begin to recognize, like, oh, is that why when I was thinking of my friend and they called the next day? Yeah, that's why you made a clairaudient connection telepathically, because your thought of them, probably also you were picturing them. So then you were sending also a clairvoyant image. I mean, it's this understanding that we probably are using some of these skills already, these senses to navigate our world. But I want to empower people not only to recognize when they're using them, but how to enhance them, and it's strengthen them. Absolutely strengthen them. So a lot of my videos that are on clairvoyance and all the clairs and empathic clairs, if you're getting it empathically from that perspective, the structure of those videos are really like an illustrative story, a lesson, and then here's some exercises that you can do to strengthen these. So perfect. Yeah. And
I'm just going to say my amazing guest is Constance Messmer. She is a psychic development coach, but so much more than that. She's an author and speaker. And you can find her at www.constancemessmer. Messmer is MESSMER, constancemessmer.com. So can you talk a little bit about what your books are about and what you're currently working on?
Yeah, sure. So I have a book out called Some Dogs Talk. And it was a book I self-published in 2009. And it's a story of telepathic communication. The protagonist is young, so it's a children's book, but it's equally appealing to a wide age group. And the stories are taken from my life. And so it's a fun perspective on how psychic communication, particularly with dogs, work. There's a reference in the very back that goes through and defines all the clairs and empathic clairs and all these kind of relational things. So that's out, which has been getting great traction. And people can apply the skills there to communicating with a loved one also that is crossed. I just finished writing a book on the 12 chakras, but I'm seeking agent and publishing that world. I want to go mainstream publishing. I'm also in the midst of compiling a game book of just the exercises for psychic development based on my teachings. And after I think I'm also, this is the one I'm excited about. I'm going to be compiling a book on the soul senses and how you can use them in your life and why they're important. And then I definitely want to do a book called Mesmer on mediumship. I'm very good at mediumship. I have learned so many things over the 30 years of doing it as a business, let alone when I was young, having those experiences. So they'll start to transform to books that are, my books are going to be actually overlapping, not necessarily a sequence of books. There'll be more of a collection that are concentric circles that teach about communication skills from the soul level, and then how you might want to use that. So yeah, I've got concepts on manifesting. I'm an incredible manifester, so I'd love to put that into a small book too. I don't think the books are going to be super long. I think they're going to be digestible, but it'll be nice to give people the opportunity to underline, highlight, and write things down and put the list or the teaching points in a print format instead of having to listen to the audio.
Right.
So,
right.
I'm working on a lot of things right now.
Well, both and is always good. Audio and visual is,
Yes.
Because we're learning. We know now, we're still learning, but we definitely know, many of us, that it might not be one or the other or both. So
Yes.
I am much better at visual learner, and doing all by myself
Yes.
rather than
Yes.
audio.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Absolutely.
those YouTubes are helpful when there's a visual along with the audio.
Yeah, and it's cute. One of the biggest things that people ask me currently is, why do the YouTube videos that you have are they all pictures? Where are you? And I have to remind them, listen, these were initially created as audio podcasts, and there's 130 of them. So I had to hire a team of people to put video footage to them. And after those are complete, then it'll just be me on the screen. But I'm the kind of person that when I listen, I like to walk. I like to move, and listen and try to integrate. And I think, I'm glad to offer the material in as many ways possible to help people, integrate it.
And talk about the reach. I mean, you now have, the name of the podcast is Constance Messmer.
Correct.
And
it's the Constance Messmer podcast. Yeah.
And your reach, I mean, you're all over the place now.
Yeah, it's exciting because I really told Spirit I love traveling. So, I want to travel. And the goal will eventually be to teach in person. I would love that. Love it, love it, love it. And it's nice to be building this community of people that are lining up and resonating with the work that I offer and the teachings that I offer. So yeah, with the YouTube podcast, I'm getting emails and notes from people all over the world, which is really exciting to me. It's so exciting. And sometimes I do, once a month, I do live YouTube videos, and they're ringing in from all around the world, which is cool. Because I think that the more people, I'm sure you agree or feel the same, the more people that really get in touch with this aspect of, or this way of higher conscious living through the senses of the soul, that we shift vibrationally to this greater frequency, and that just exudes this, not only a better life for ourselves, but for those around us. And it will help, the 100th month key change the planet to higher conscious living. And golly, do we need that?
Yes, indeed. So it's really contagious. I mean, just as anything negative, normally human beings veer toward the negative. Unfortunately, we think of an illness that's like contagious, but this is like laughter and joy that is contagious, because that is the language of the soul, music that is viral in the best possible ways. So
Absolutely. And I think also too, when people, ask sometimes, why do I do this work? First of all, it's my life calling. I have to. if I didn't, I'd be really mad at myself on my deathbed. But the other thing is because it is contagious, because when you start living from your soul senses and applying that to your daily life, not only just me when I did the work as a psychic medium and channel, but when I apply it to my daily life, it's easier. And you can't keep that to yourself. And when you teach people the skills and the tools so that they can monitor their own happy factor, like, oh, why is it not working with that person? Why can't I find that job? Where am I stuck? And I say, let's use your soul senses, go into your chakras, look around you. What do you need to look at? Past, present, future, to, what steps you need to move beyond to then get to where you want to go. These are all skills that I'm trying to teach them. And so anybody that's willing to take the time and learn and sit in their own practice and apply the materials will benefit. And I'm grateful to be, part of this giant movement that's happening on the planet right now.
Truly on the forefront. Have you, in your journey, I mean, I'm sure the answer to this will probably be yes, but what kind of obstacles, or what were some of the greatest challenges that you have faced on this journey, whether externally or internally?
Well, it was never external, because anytime that I needed a place you would not believe my office. Spirit kept saying, I was like, I should probably get a big space for teaching when I wanted to teach and everything. And Spirit's like, okay, this is the place. This is the place. I'm like, no, I don't want that place. I want a different place. I want a different office. And sure enough, I succumbed. I'm like, okay, I'll ask the realtor. Let me see that office space. The office space is huge. And when I went from teaching privately to podcasting, and I have a room that's, for I'm going to make meditations that people can listen to, and I'll sell those so they can have, I use every inch of space. So the obstacles were not external. I manifest great with that. I need this, Spirit shows up. I know it's aligned with the work, it shows up. Everything, just happens. I even said, I'd like to be offered a speaking abroad. And within, like, I don't know, was it a couple weeks? I got this offer to speak in South Africa. The timing was bad, but I was like, you know what? Thank you. I just wanted to make sure we're on the same wavelength, the angels that are helping me with the work. So that was hilarious. But I think the greatest obstacles I've had is my own, you make me want to cry with that question. It's not am I good enough to do it? But I do think the perfectionist side of me, I overextend myself in all the pieces that I want to teach. And so the obstacles might be maybe taking on too much and believing I can do it. And I'm smart enough now. I have an amazing team that I've hired to help. I think there's 12 of us or 11 of us. Yeah. Because I can't put the work out there alone. There's too much work. But I think probably, you know what it probably is? I guess I've never really been asked that question. So thanks, Hilary, for asking it. I think it would probably be not believing I'm worthy. I think being blown away by the gifts that come with sharing who you are. When I finally was like, okay, I guess I'm supposed to do this, bring it on. And it just flows with such ease and grace when I'm in that line and light. I think that my obstacles have been
believing that it was too easy?
Yeah, I think it is believing that it's too easy. I think it is probably believing that it would be that easy, that it's that easy. I know I want to do a TED Talk, and my friend is like, you can do a TED Talk tomorrow. I said, I know, but I want to have a book to sell. I do a TED Talk. Then, of course, I see a Mel Robbins video that she did the TED Talk first and then wrote the book after. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me, Spirit? But I think it's been this, sometimes I run from the love. There's a lot of love in those higher vibrational spaces. It's pure love and it's pure joy. And if I hang there, I crumble to tears, and then I walk around and am in love with everyone. And that is really transformational. That's transformational. So I think it's my own fear of being so completely and utterly transformed. That's probably my biggest setback, is that I want to hold on to my the ego crud that we all carry around.
Mm-hmm.
But I know the more I surrender, the better off I'll be, which is what I'm asking everybody to do. Surrender to your higher self.
Right.
You know?
Walking the talk.
Yeah. But I think for your listeners, if anyone feels compelled, like, oh, I'm supposed to be caught in this wave, or my work is with spirit, or my work is with helping and healing and all of this, I think that the greatest advice I could give them is, just keep surrendering every day. How?
Mm-hmm.
Help me, show me the steps. How? What should I do next? How? And whether you're asking that of your wise self or divine consciousness or your angels, but just ask. And then if you're afraid, say, I'm afraid. What steps should I take so I won't be afraid? I think that would be the best advice I would give.
Yes, because there really is not anything to be afraid of other than our own programming and conditioning, in my experience, that really, whether it's the religious upbringing or parental or, societal. I know I've talked about this before, but one of my favorite phrases is Rumi's phrase, which is also a Sufi mantra: surrender and surrender now. And anybody that has DNA wiring with control and holding on very tightly, whether it's Virgo related or not Virgo related. And I mention that because Virgos want a plan and they want it to be, cookie cutter and predictable. And when it veers from that, and spirit is a playground and it's joyful and it is anything but following a certain path.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because they're like, no, we want to jump all those 5 steps. Mm-hmm. You're wanting to work through those 5 steps. We're telling you we're going to jump you those 5 steps.
Right.
And no turning back. And so you're right. The Rumi, the Sufi, surrender again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So many wonderful angles to our conversation. My amazing guest, inimitable guest, is Constance Messmer, Constance, Messmer, MESSMER.com. She is author, speaker, psychic development coach extraordinaire. So, anything that you want to share about your work, anything unexpected that, has surprised or shocked you on your journey? Anything that's ever scared you?
No, because usually if something, when I started doing the work, I said, okay, then I'm going to trust that if you lead me to it, you'll lead me through it. You'll get me, I'll know what to say. So I've had some, I guess I've had scary moments, but in those moments, I was directed on what to do and say, so that was really helpful. There's so many incredible stories in the work, which is why I often teach with illustrative stories from my experience. And I think the saddest thing, I might cry saying this, is I used to teach this one-on-one class, and I'm going to try to develop it as a meditation for people to buy, so anyone can do it. And I'll definitely want to do it when I'm in large group settings and giving talks. I used to offer something called learn to, connecting with spirit, learn to channel. I can't even remember what it was. Isn't that funny? My brain is getting edited by spirit. And in it, I would say, ask to be connected with the highest being that is aligned with your truth, that can come forward and give you guidance. Mm-hmm. And when I was in the space with people, even when I was teaching them, or whether it was a more than one student or one student, I would always go into the same psychic spaces that they could see. That was one of my greatest gifts, is that I can enter the spaces where they are so that I can troubleshoot the troubles they're having. And so I don't ask their guides what are their troubles. I go where they're going. And one of the saddest things that I ever experienced was when people would only go to astral and talk to guides. And I'd say, okay, ask the highest being. Are you sure that's the highest being? Now, meanwhile, I would see the divine light around them, or even angelic. I'm getting goosebumps saying this, or even angelic light. And I was like, why are you going to these lesser beings when you could soar so high? The sky's the limit. And so I think that was the hardest thing for me. And I'd say to them, okay, we'll work with this guide for a week. Ask the guide how long you should sit with them in undivided attention, devoted meditation time. And then when you're ready, see if you want to come back and see if you want to go higher to the other realms. And so my work is to remind people that there are no blocks. The sky's the limit. And as long as you're willing to apply yourself and really, um,
cultivate.
Yeah, cultivate, trust it, and really not be afraid of the light. I always teach, are you afraid because it's a scary experience, or is it a scary being? And so that's why I jump astral usually.
Say that again, please.
Okay. I say when I tell people, when I work with people, I say, are you afraid of it, or are you scared because it's a new experience, or it's a scary being? There's a difference. And often it's a new experience. And so they're, concerned. But I'm like, if it's a scary being, then I'll tell you how we can deal with that. But that's why I usually want people to jump over lower astral, or even, go beyond. And so the hardest thing is when I see angels around them, but they just want to talk to guides. But nothing wrong with guides. Nothing wrong. But go higher. Go high. It's a different frequency of information. It's totally different. And you can hang with guides and angels in that light and that love and that vibration. It'll transform you. You don't have to work through your problems. They'll be transmuted, they'll just be transmuted, and you'll just come out different. So I think that was usually the hardest thing for me was, which is hilarious. You know what Spirit's saying to me right now, Hilary? They're saying, yeah, Constance, this is kind of what we're dealing with you when you're not surrendering to the higher light that you're supposed to be surrendering to. So I'm doing this big gap of a little time before I go back in on my podcasting, because there's this transition from when it was all the video pictures to me in studio recording. And during that gap, I've been directed to just really hang in the vibration of the highest light. And I know it'll be transformative. So Spirit's saying, this is what you're supposed to do. Don't hang with lower, listen, my lower guides are beautiful guides. I'm not saying that, but I'm just really supposed to do exactly what I want others to do, is just hang in the frequency of the highest truth, highest source energy.
So do you find that it's sort of like, and this isn't to minimize in any way, people's experience that come to you, like nursery school, kindergarten, elementary school, the various levels that you're working through to develop mastery. It's like first to understand that there is nothing to fear. We're working with the Play-Doh table, and we're working with the blocks table, and this is what these are.
Yes, I definitely present foundational material. Absolutely. Absolutely. Because they need to learn about differentiating and discerning and protecting. And absolutely. So yeah, I think that those skills are helpful for anyone, because I think if I did not go to school for psychic development at all, all my teachers are in spirit. I learned, I came in with the skill set already intact. Some astrocartographer said you came in with all 11 senses open. And I was like, okay, whatever that means, whatever that means. I didn't know what that meant at the time. I was like, okay, whatever. But where am I supposed to live? But and surprise, surprise, I'm living right where I should be. But yeah, so I never studied with a teacher in the physical. But there were times when I was like, God, I'd love it, because I'd like to see what they're getting and how they're getting it, because that's what I like to do. But I'd also like to see what can I teach that's different. And I think that all teachers have different perspectives. So I think it's beneficial when people listen to my content, even though they think they're advanced for some of it. I think it's beneficial because they'll be able to say yes, no, ooh, new thing. Never thought of that before. Right. And I think the same is true with me, that if I were to have opportunity to go hear someone speaking on the craft, then I absolutely would, But I think I'm so busy creating my own content, I don't have time for that right now.
Well, no, and it's worth saying that we can all stand refreshers,
Correct. Yeah,
whether it's on psychic hygiene or shielding or how to tune in or, pick a topic. It's worth I know that with astrology, it's always an infinite body of knowledge. And
absolutely.
so
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
were there any particular books, sources of information, teachers that you found to be instrumental in your development?
Um, not no, because I didn't read a lot. I think I read two books and I don't want to name them because I said, ooh, mm-mm. I need to
Okay.
write this book. I need to write this book because they were channeling this information through the prism of their reality. And I would do this differently. So I would present this material differently. So people even ask, can you refer, can you suggest? And I say, no, I can't. I'm sorry. Why don't you close your eyes, go into your heart and ask to be guided? So go to the library, go to a bookstore and see where clear sensation physically
Mhm.
pulls you and go, okay, is this right for me? Hold it to your heart and ask, is this right for me? I get a lot of those questions. I want to make sure I'm not getting scammed. I want to make sure I'm investing in the right thing. And I just say, I'm not doing reads anymore and trust your inner source. The fact that you're asking me that you think you might be getting scammed is telling you that you might be getting, this might not be good. So
Oh,
yeah,
well,
so
that's a very interesting answer. I mean, unexpectedly, totally um, honest, or I should say, completely expected to be forthright and honest, and pure from you. That there is really, this is part of what you're teaching is to go inward to really trust
yeah, yeah,
about
yeah.
the guide, because I know, for example, I was looking for a Reiki teacher for a long time and I ended up with the right match, but it was trial and error until I got there. So,
Nice. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm not adverse to asking spirit, knock me over the head with it. Tell me three times. Let me see their name in print. Let me hear their name. Let me, just know, give me a dream. And it always happens and it always guides. It's so good. And I, say thank you in advance, and trust. But yeah,
no, that's a very refreshing answer, because many in our world, in the metaphysical world, can fall into the trap of guruship.
yes.
And that is really something to be aware of, that, oh, you're not following or you're not
Yeah.
taking so and so's course or class, or how can you be unfamiliar with X, Y, or Z? And it's really the discernment and the differentiation. And I
Mhm.
would even use the naughty words judgment and discrimination that have really, there's healthy judgment and healthy discrimination, which are such tools that in the metaphysical realm are really important to strengthen as muscles, spiritual muscles.
Huge,
And
hugely true. Yes.
yeah, and part
Yeah.
of that is saying this is the right teacher. It's not dependent on my best friend's opinion or my teacher's opinion. It is based on what feels right for me.
Right. Absolutely. With just what it's all about. And it's so interesting. My team, I'm kind of driving them a little nuts because when I signed on for this work, I knew I wasn't supposed to offer packaged classes that I charged money for, which is so insane, right? So insane. So my content is free. I will definitely charge for the books when people buy books or merchandise. And when I go speak in public spaces, I hope maybe sponsors will pay me to speak. My goal is to really get this out to everyone. And I know that people might have financial hardship. So I didn't want to offer exclusive stuff. I have membership on the YouTube channel, but it's really minuscule. And it's no private exclusive content is offered because I just I guess I'm all Aquarian that way. Humanitarian and like, quick, everybody wake up. Let's save the planet. Let's help each other. Let's be, love and incarnate. But I don't know.
That is really rare. And thank you for mentioning that because that is very rare in the worlds we live in. It is all about the package that you can sell and the more dollars, and it's not to put down at all the exchange of the financial exchange, but it is really it is such a service to be able to provide it to those who cannot afford it and would otherwise be prevented. So
absolutely. So I always hope, this is why on the YouTube channel, there is a membership tier of like $500 a month. And I thought, well, if people have the money and they want to support the content, to creation that I take the time to do, then maybe they'll donate that way or give that way or whatever. But
right.
Yeah, it's definitely a labor of love.
Right. So it is a tremendous joy and honor to speak with you, Constance. I can't believe we're at the end of our time together. If you could change the world for better in some way, how would you change it?
Oh, wait, that's a broad question. Like, are you asking, can you rephrase the question? Are you asking how would I allow my work to change it, or what do I want of the world?
What do you want of the world?
I want everyone to live from their true higher consciousness. Truly, 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 not ego-based where there's maybe greed or, all those. I want higher conscious living for everyone.
Thank you. So wonderful to speak with you today. My extraordinary guest is Constance Messmer, author, speaker, teacher, psychic development coach. Does not even begin to cover it. You may find her at www.constancemessmer.com. To learn more about their work, please go to your website, certainly to download your videos and to tune in to the gifts that you really share. I will be back in 2 weeks to bring you my monthly astrology forecast. I would also love to have you join the Three Wise Women community. We are a veteran team of 3 metaphysical practitioners offering connection and conversation to explore all of your wildest woo questions. Join us the first Tuesday of each month at 6 p.m. Eastern via Zoom. Only $10 monthly per session or $110 per year. To register, please visit my website, hilaryharley.com. To learn more about my work or to book a session with me, also please visit hilaryharley.com. If you would like to read my monthly forecast or to check dates of planetary events and cycles, you may find the full written transcript for all astrology episodes on my website. Thank you so much for listening today, and I wish you many blessings as you journey forward.